President Trump's strong lead in the polls and his age, leading to some of those impassioned exchanges among the four Republican contenders at that GOP debate. Mr. Trump's still a clear frontrunner, less than 40 days from the Iowa caucus. Though absent, some analysts are calling him the ultimate winner from Wednesday night. And one of them is the chairman of the Alabama GOP, John Wahl, joining us live from Tuscaloosa. So thank you, first of all, for being there. I know that you and other Alabamans were excited to host the first ever primary GOP debate for the state. Why do you call Trump the ultimate winner, followed by DeSantis?
You know, I think if you look at the candidates on stage, none of them made that breakthrough moment in that jockeying for position to challenge Donald Trump. I think it's also, for me, as I was watching the debate, I got the sense the candidates were talking more to each other than they were to the American people. And I'm sure that's not exactly what they wanted to, how they wanted to come across. And I think it's hard to connect with the audience when you're kind of scrambling for position amongst yourselves. And that's why I feel if you look at that, you know, Donald Trump's going to watch that debate last night and he's going to go, that was great. You know, that's exactly what his team was looking for. The other candidates fighting with each other, kind of squabbling, not really reaching out on directly talking to the American public and building those inroads they would have to have now in order to have any chance of gaining ground to catch him before the early voting states.
Well, they've got to run at the speed of light to catch him at this point. There's been a lot of criticism of the GOP party being too critical, too self-righteous, angry, attacking. Last night, as you have spoken on now, is no exception. Do you believe that any of their banter, any of their back and forth actually helped the audience, helped Americans?
I think it absolutely did. Through spirited debate, and I want to give a compliment to the moderators. You know, I think if you look at the quality of the debate stage and the moderators and how they handle the candidates, I think they were spot on. You know, they allowed the candidates to go back and forth, but not get out of control. And that's what you look for in a debate. And I think in that regard, what we saw last night was a great opportunity for candidates. And I just felt like none of them seized that opportunity, either in jockeying for position or for kind of reaching out, especially to younger voters. You know, remember, this was the first presidential debate this cycle to be held on a college campus. I felt they had an opportunity to reach out to younger voters, talk about issues that were facing young people, college students today. And I don't feel like any of them grasped that opportunity either. So, you know, overall, amazing debate. What a great opportunity for Alabama and for the Alabama GOP and the people of Alabama. But I think the two winners here was the state of Alabama and Donald Trump.
Well, I think there are a lot of young people who are very impassioned about some of the major topics that the GOP and Democrats are faced with, including immigration. Do you believe there were enough answers presented, enough real solutions presented by any of these candidates?
You know, I think there were. You know, there was a lot of stuff to this debate. And when they get into those squabbles, you do oftentimes find out their true values, right? Like, it's through that conflict that you actually get to a candidate's heart. So in that regard, I think we did. We really saw some moments there. I think Ron DeSantis talking about his, you know, the border and some of his ideas there resonated with the audience here in Alabama. I also thought he had, you know, a couple good one-liners. He was much more aggressive than he's been in past debates. And I think that kind of was a new face for him. And it's going to be interesting to see if that reacts well in polling as we move post this debate.
In terms of the economy, obviously, NewsNation's latest polling, Decision Desk HQ, showing inflation top of mind for voters. Who do you believe had the strongest position last night?
Well, you know, and that's the hard one on inflation, you know, and the economy in general. I don't think any of the candidates really stood out to me over another. You know, they were all talking very similar talking points, you know, talking about the need for an aggressive fiscal responsibility, kind of bringing things back to a more conservative model, cutting spending, national debt. But I would have liked to have heard a little more specifics about, okay, here's what we're going to cut. This is what we're going to do. And I think that's something that the American people, look, they're struggling to put food on the table. You know, we're seeing the disastrous policies of the Biden administration and how that affects everyday people in their lives, whether that's gas prices, you know, the economy in general, and especially inflation. I would have liked a deep dive into the policy positions and how those policy positions would directly affect the American people. And we saw that from all the candidates. But I feel like any single one of them really shined above the others.
That, to me, is something that I think we hear every single time following a debate. And it would be wonderful. I think the American people are begging for that to actually come to pass during these conversations. We'll hear from them again. John Wahl, chairman of the Alabama GOP. We appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us there. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.